Let's dig up this tomato. I have some little clips, but since this stem is starting to get thick, I'm just going to use a zip tie and leave it kind of loose so that it's got space to grow, but it still gets held up. You guys are kind of in the garden bed with me, so bear with me. Yeah, and then leave it loose so it's got room. And trim off these brown parts. I don't know if it's disease or what is happening here. The sun is starting to peek through the clouds. It's about to get real humid. I will wash my clipper thingies in a minute after I'm done. Don't want aphid on this guy that I can see. So this is what's happening with the tomatoes, and I've trimmed off a lot of this guy. They're like turning brown, and I don't know why. And it's not all the tomatoes, it's just this area. So I'm thinking if it's disease started up, that I just want to try and avoid that and get that off there. This one, I just don't know if it's gonna make it. I may end up pulling it out. It's got some flowers on it starting, but it's not growing like the other ones. They're planted at the same time, and this one next to it is like twice as big, and so is that one. They're planted at the same time from start. This other, and those, the two small ones, are the super sweet cherries, and the two big ones are beefsteak. So I don't know. See how these do, because they just got a good rain. They might not want to come out very well. I'll keep an eye on these too to make sure that they're not getting pinched by these as they get bigger. These little things are onions. I think I missed them in the garden tour. I don't expect that they'll be very big because they got planted so late. And this looks suspiciously like rabbit poop in my garden bed. So we have a lot of wild rabbits around here. I don't want to stretch it or cut into the plant. So you leave it loose so it has room to grow and move, but just tight enough to keep it going in the direction you want it to. I will use twine for this too, but it's packed in a tote that I didn't want to have to dig out, so I am just going with the easy route here. As these zucchini and squash grow straight up, I will begin to trim their bottom leaves so that they get good airflow too. So I got all these pots, except for the square ones, at an estate sale. And I'm going to start putting some of the peppers in them and then start some seeds in some. Eventually we're gonna move these pots into this area. My kids call this the snake garden, but I don't want to do raised beds here and plant directly in the ground because of all the ants that live in these pavers. And there's several layers of weed cloth down here, and over the years it's just grown up through it. So we're going to weed eat this down real good and try and get a hold of some horticulture vinegar to take care of this and all the stuff growing up through the pavers. So these containers will eventually be moved to this space, but they don't have to go far, so it's okay if they're heavier when they do it, so we can just kind of roll them in. And then here on the other side is where these other ones will go. I'm not really concerned either about like the sun and the order in which I plant in here, because all this stuff is movable. That's one of the beautiful things about containers. So I'll be thinking about the sizes of the plants and how much root space they need, almost in a square foot gardening kind of method with the containers. They're all pretty good size. So I'm gonna get started on doing that, and I'm gonna use this video as a record so I don't have to mark everything. So we'll see how that goes as we're doing it. Okay, back into the sun. So that one jalapeno I put in the bed, I didn't see any other space savers for peppers in there. So I'm gonna start putting the rest of those jalapenos in some of these pots and then plant some seeds. I'm thinking about where all this other stuff will go, but it could replace once it gets better established. There's several spots for tomatoes, so I'm not super concerned about those. There's several peppers too, so if they come up, they can replace any plants that aren't, well, they are up. If they keep doing well and what's up, CK? If they continue to do well, they can replace plants in the beds that aren't looking so good at that point. Take off this bottom leaf on each side of this one because I don't want it to be touching the soil. I'll stick that there so all these 5, make sure you can see, are jalapenos. Okay, oh, we do have one more jalapeno spot. Okay, I'm going to pull this one up and we're going to go put it in the bed over there. And I'm going to take his marker. So these 4 are jalapenos. I'm just gonna scoop him up. Hopefully this doesn't freak this jalapeno out too much, but piece of bark. Okay, so bush beans are 9 per square foot, and these containers are about a square foot. So I think I'm gonna do those. I'm gonna do some dragon tongue bush beans. Got these from a seed swap. And I'm gonna do 4 in these. Since the jalapenos are in here too. And typically I'd like to do 2 seeds per hole, but I don't have very many of those, so I'm just going to do 1. The flies are out today. They need to hit the road. One day I'll have chickens, and I think that will help with the fly problem. 4 more, so I'll have to put that one back in. I will come through and water these in tonight. What else do we got? Got lots of Blue Lake. This one's already open. What else do we got? That's Blue Lake, Contender, and Blue Lake. So I think we'll do some more Blue Lakes and a really hard time thinning plants, so if all these come up it's gonna be difficult to snip some, but we'll see what happens. Get them put back up. Let's see. I know we want to do some more cucumbers, possibly some more carrots. Let's see. Do some squash. I might come in and put in some more root veg too later. Yeah, so this is the Costata Romanesco that I have over in the bed. Do some of those. 45 to 60 days to harvest, so I should have enough time. That is the Lakota, the Blue Hubbard, and the butternut. I was like, where'd the other one go? The butternut squash that I have in the beds. I'm gonna put this in, and let's see what it says. I don't see how long the vines get, but it is a vining squash, so I will have to put up some trellising. My stepdad's gonna be bringing me some tomato cages. Make the holes too deep. I think I'm gonna try and put some in here too. And these you just cook like you would a zucchini or a summer squash, like a yellow crookneck or use them the same way. Okay, so got this here. Got some beans. All those are planted. Now I've got that great big one and 4 small ones. Let's see what we're gonna do. This weed has got to go with this tickling my feet. So I'm gonna do pickle bush, cucumbers, and these 4 other little pots. They do vine, but they don't get very big, so I'll be able to trellis them pretty easy. Okay. Pickle bush, 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. So now I just have that big planter left to do. What should we do with it? So I'm gonna do, got these 2 pineapple ground cherries that I'm gonna put in here. They've got roots all the way down to the bottom already too. Put that whole thing in. A little deep with this hole. Got some trail mix nasturtium I'm gonna do in here. So there we go. All that's planted up so far. Why does this keep turning on by itself? It's a newfangled phone of mine. Knocked you guys into the cucumber, sorry.